In 1992, the world witnessed more than just a movie release. It experienced the rise of an immortal sound. Whitney Houston didn't simply star in The Bodyguard, she eclipsed it. And what emerged alongside the film wasn't just a soundtrack, but a cultural monument. The Bodyguard, original soundtrack album, became an event in itself, a sonic milestone that redefined what a movie album could be. Anchored by one of the most iconic voices in music history, the soundtrack didn't just accompany a love story, it became one. It all begins with silence. Then out of that stillness comes a note, pure, unaccompanied, unforgettable. If I should stay. And with that single phrase, Whitney Houston delivered what would become the most recognizable a cappella opening in pop history. Her rendition of Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You transformed the humble country farewell into an eternal pop aria. Where Dolly had gently let go, Whitney turned the goodbye into a thunderclap of longing. The vocal control, the whispered phrasing, the restrained power, it wasn't just a cover, it was a reinvention. The orchestration swells like a storm behind her, the key lifts, and heartbreak becomes operatic. It shattered records. It owned the airwaves. It became a global goodbye anthem, forever tethered to her name. This was no longer just a song, it was a statement. A pinnacle. A farewell wrapped in fire and velvet. If that track was her graceful exit, I Have Nothing was the anguished cry before the door slammed shut. Written by David Foster and Linda Thompson, this power ballad plays like a cinematic crescendo. It begins in shadows, gentle piano and strings, and builds into a vocal skyscraper. Each verse climbs brick by brick toward a chorus that explodes in raw emotional demand. Don't make me close one more door, she pleads, and the line hits like a dare and a prayer all at once. Her voice doesn't just soar, it sears. With every modulation, she scales new heights, never faltering, never blinking. This is Whitney in full dramatic bloom, owning the kind of track that lesser singers fear to attempt. But the heartbreak isn't the whole story. Whitney, ever the shapeshifter, flips the emotional script with I'm Every Woman. A Chaka Khan original reimagined through a 90s lens, the song becomes a celebration of feminine power and joy. The groove is infectious, the backing vocals layered with playful energy, most of them sung by Whitney herself. While Chaka gave us funk, Whitney gave us gleam, spinning the disco roots into something sleek and triumphant. It's not just an empowering anthem, it's a declaration, a vibrant counterbalance to the ache of the ballads. With this track, she wasn't pleading, she was partying. Then comes the softness of Run to You, perhaps the most intimate moment on the album. Where other ballads blast open the emotional floodgates, this one tiptoes into vulnerability. There's an almost ethereal quality to it, as Whitney's voice dances gently across the melody. Each word feels carefully placed, like she's laying them down on silk. The ache is quieter here, more internalized, but just as devastating. The key change doesn't announce itself loudly. It sneaks up on you, deepening the feeling rather than heightening the volume. By the final chorus, it's no longer just a song, it's a whispered confession held in trembling hands. Then the album changes lanes. Queen of the Night crashes in like a renegade. Suddenly, Whitney trades ballads for grit and glamour, delivering a straight-up dance rock track that channels Tina Turner energy and leather jacket attitude. Fuzzy guitar riffs, driving beats, and a vocal performance full of fire, it's a completely different side of Whitney, one that demands attention and takes no prisoners. She doesn't just sing the part, she struts through it. It's one of the few moments in her career where she dives headfirst into this kind of rock-powered territory, and it's glorious. Just when you think you've heard every emotional register, Whitney pulls it all back with a simple declaration of faith. Jesus Loves Me, a humble gospel hymn, closes her portion of the album with quiet reverence. There's no overproduction, no soaring arrangements, just a gentle spiritual lullaby sung from the core of her soul. It's a reminder of where she came from, of the church pews that first echoed her voice. Positioned near the album's end, it feels like a benediction, both for the listener and from the artist. Stripped back and sincere, it roots the album in something timeless. But Whitney wasn't the only voice on The Bodyguard. The album's latter tracks introduced companions, songs by Lisa Stansfield, Joe Cocker, Kenny G, Curtis Stiggers, and others. Lisa Stansfield's Someday, I'm Coming Back is a smooth, up-tempo blend of early 90s pop and club flair, effortless and bright. Joe Cocker and Sass Jordan bring a smoky, bluesy energy to Trust in Me, creating a duet that smolders rather than shouts. Curtis Stigger's jazzy groove, the Kenny G Snow duet, each adds a layer of atmosphere to the cinematic art. These songs broaden the scope of the album, giving it a richer palette and anchoring it in the musical landscape of its time. Behind the scenes, the production is meticulous, but never cold. Industry giants like David Foster, L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Narada Michael Walden didn't just craft tracks, they sculpted sonic cathedrals where Whitney could soar. The arrangements gave her space to breathe, to build, to unleash. The ballads never drowned in strings or drowned out in synth, they lifted with her, not above her. Every song feels intentional, like it was built not just for her voice, but from it. And the world responded. By the end of 1993, the Bodyguard soundtrack had sold over 20 million copies worldwide. It remains one of the best-selling soundtracks of all time. But beyond the numbers, it changed the rules. Suddenly, a soundtrack could dominate the charts, could live independently from its film, could become the reason audiences came back again and again. People might remember Kevin Costner carrying her in slow motion, but what they felt, what lingers decades later, is the music. To revisit The Bodyguard today is to relive a cultural heartbeat. It's more than an album, it's an era. It captures Whitney Houston not just at her peak, but at her most complete. Vulnerable, powerful, playful, prayerful. She didn't just sing these songs, she embodied them. And in doing so, she gave the world a soundtrack for heartbreak, for hope, for empowerment, and for faith. It's volcanic, it's vulnerable, it's eternal, and while she once told us she would always love us, the truth might be that we always loved her more.